Welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast, in association with Symco Training. This is the weekly podcast where we share best practice, tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your dealership or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bogert. Now, some of you probably already know me as Skippy. I want to start by saying thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Hi, welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. Today, it's a new year. It's the 2nd of 2026, and I'm joined today by Neil Carrahar. Now, Neil is actually the brand new operations director for Symco Training. I'm really excited to introduce Neil to you because I've learned so much from Neil in the last, is it 6 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that, Neil?
Something like that, yeah.
I'm really excited to learn more about you and let our audience just to hear all about you. So welcome aboard.
Thank you, Simon. It's great to be here. Hello, everyone.
Did you have a nice Christmas and New Year?
Fantastic one, yeah. Just time with family, down the beach with my little boy, stuff like that.
It sounds like a long time ago already now, doesn't it?
Gone over in the blink of an eye.
That's it. So listen, I'll just start off with a question that we always start off with. So many people we've interviewed, and this really separates the real motor traders from the guys that it's not in their blood as much. Do you remember the first car you ever sold?
I do. It was a bright red Suzuki Swift. 2001, I think, 2002, something around that era. It was brand new, 3-door, and the gentleman that part exchanged an identical car in blue, the same make and model. It was the easiest one I could have ever done for my first sale.
Isn't it quite funny? So many people remember the first car, the whole circumstances, and it just gets into your blood. Do you still enjoy the buzz of that deal today as you did from when you started all those years ago?
I do, absolutely. Yeah. There's nothing like the buzz of a deal, is there, Simon?
That's true. So listen, you've worked at pretty much most levels in the motor trade, working with people in the showroom, working with people in the boardroom. When you look back, what role has really shaped you the most in your career?
There's been so many, to be honest, Simon. I think the one that really stands out, I took a job as a sales skills development manager. That was my first sort of movement off the showroom floor and into learning and development work. And the experience of that role really shaped who I became as a person, because I started to realize I'd thought entirely transactionally for so long. Mm-hmm. And then I started to understand so much more about the human factor, about people, about mindset, about what motivates people to perform, understanding performance management, all sorts of new dimensions that I'd never really considered before. And it made me really think about how can I make a difference for other people in the future with this newfound wisdom, and what things would I have done differently if I'd looked back in the past, if I'd had the knowledge earlier. And I've shared that with quite a few people successfully. Yeah.
So Neil, can I ask you, I'm always amazed, why do people like you and I give up a good job operationally, earning decent money, decide to go into the world of coaching and telling people how to do it? What was it for you that made you want to make that leap into learning and development?
There was a number of things, Simon. I remember back in 2005, I worked in the BMW and Mini network as a salesperson. And I remember going down to the BMW Group Academy down in Reading and, thinking, I have to go on a course. Don't really want to go and spend a week away from home. And drove down on the Sunday afternoon. It was like a 5-night residential and really wasn't looking forward to it. And the following 5 days were really transformational. I remember meeting their lead, academy lead, a chap called Alan McNutt, a very inspirational man. And he started with a few one-liners and a few jokes, set out some ground rules for the week. And what a transformational week that was. And it finished with, they did a recording, effectively a mystery shop review, role-playing an entire customer experience from end to end. And nobody wanted to do it. And then you got a graduation at the end, and it was just what an experience it was, when you start to realize the skills that you think you have and how many more skills that you still have to gain, like we all do today. And I remember that really struck with me quite for a very long time. And then when my wife wanted to start a family, my wife and I wanted to start a family, and we're talking about, what do we do? Working Christmas, working New Year, working some of the long hours that we do. And that was where I made the decision to start looking for something like what Alan did.
Mm.
And that's how I found myself working in the Northeast with a company called Benfield, doing that group sales skills role. And it was a great period of my life. That it was a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, going back to when you were selling, do you remember the first time you realized that selling cars, it was actually a serious profession, not just a job?
Mm, I certainly do. I think I'd go back to that week residential trip in Reading. I'd been selling cars for 3 or 4 years at that point, thought I was great at it, and then realized actually, hang on a minute, this is far more serious and professional than I'd given it credit for. And started to think more, they were very focused on premium customers, being BMW, of course, but started to think about the deeper demands of a customer, and how many things I'd missed, how many deals had I missed with the
Mm.
skill shortage that I'd had before that point. And I genuinely came back from that a different person, and really flourished in the sales role after it. So, if I
Okay.
can apply it that way, there's so many other people I can help.
Okay. Now, also from Porsche, I don't know, one syllable or two syllables. Do I say Porsche or Porsche? I never know.
Porsche,
I got
Porsche,
two syllables for you.
very
Okay.
emotive topic for so many people. That is, yeah, no, Porsche.
Then BMW,
Hmm.
Mercedes-Benz, JLR, I
Hmm.
believe,
Hmm.
volume
Yeah,
brands as well, starting with Suzuki, from my understanding there.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
can I just ask
Mazda.
you about the difference then between what did premium teach you compared to volume, and also vice versa? What did you learn in volume that you wish the premium guys did? Or is
Mm.
there much of a change, or is it just a mindset? Or is
Uh,
buying a car, if I'm buying the Porsche, is it the same emotions I'm going through buying a Suzuki, I suppose, is what I'm asking.
It definitely is. If we think about a customer spending six figures on a car, or a customer spending, sorry, low four figures on a car, it's an emotional purchase for them. It's a big purchase for them. And sometimes I think in the car industry, I've heard this so many times, we take it for granted because we're immersed in it every day. We're doing it all day, every day, and we don't necessarily think about the depth of the emotions, the choices, the shopping, the
Mm.
customer shopping list. Have they had to get household approval from another another member of the family that's got purchasing intent as well? There's so many things to the journey that we don't even factor about when we cover generic sales training. To come back to your question about premium and volume, I think what I definitely learned about being immersed in both worlds is that every customer is vitally important.
Mm.
And every customer is a future after sales opportunity, a future parts and body shop opportunity, a future retention opportunity. Regardless of what badge is on the bonnet, it's just vitally important to give them a great experience. Um, Deliver it passionately, and make sure that we're their next point of contact next time around. Friends, family, servicing, all of it.
Yeah, it's we work with all brands, as you know, and there really is this situation sometimes that premium customers are going to be different, and I always think, well, are they that different to me? Because people are different. I agree with that, but in Suzuki and Porsche, you're going to have people still need to see value in the product. People still
Absolutely.
want to. You still have to ask for the business, and I see the same issues happening in both. Yes, I think we have to mirror and match our customer. We have to
Hmm.
deal with who we have in front of us. Um, but we never forget the Porsche customer might be the same person that is also buying that Suzuki. Um,
Absolutely.
do,
Yes,
do you,
absolutely.
do you treat
Mm.
that same person completely different because they're buying the Macan and now they're going to buy the chimney
Hmm.
for their partner or whatever there? It's yeah, that's interesting there.
Mm.
Going back into when you're at frontline leadership, okay, so you're a sales manager, you're a business manager. Frontline leadership, I think it's different because you've got these same people day in, day out you're talking to. Then you step into a divisional role where you are all over the country. Okay, with Virtue, you're working out beforehand. Okay, when we first met, you were all over the country from I believe as far south as Plymouth, was it
That's
something like
right.
that?
Yeah. Edinburgh to
Plymouth,
Plymouth. Yeah.
all the way up into Scotland there.
Mm.
Um, I want to get my head around, is there a mindset shift to go from frontline leadership, where you're there day in, day out, you can make sure people do it, to when you're there once a month, making sure people are doing it when you come back? What sort of mindset difference did you have to make?
There's a number of things there. I think when you think about going doing development work with a person or a leadership team or a department, it's understanding what the challenges of that department is. Is it a leadership issue? Is it a skills gap issue? Is it following a process issue? There's so many different things to factor in. Thinking about making an impactful change, going into a dealership, identifying an issue, um, doing some training, doing some one-to-one coaching with various people. It's all effective if the leadership is aligned with what we've done when we've been on site, and that message can be carried on
So
when we
true.
leave the dealership and maybe come back a month later. It's
Yeah,
vital for that alignment to be present. Otherwise, you'll end up with chaos. So it's making sure that the leadership team are clear on what we're going to change or what we're going to do together,
yeah.
and also clear that the team understand what it is we're wanting to do and why. So effectively going through, tell me, show me, let me, coach me,
Mm.
making sure that all four steps are present and that there's no gaps.
But it's so true. How often do we train people, either sales or after sales, and say, "Oh, we don't do it that way at our dealership. No, no, we do it a different way. Oh, no, my manager always asks me how much the customer wants for their trade in." And someone says, "No, my manager never asks that question." He says, "Don't ask the question. It's ridiculous." And there has to be that consistency, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Just that
Absolutely.
people, they're all on the same page there. So let me ask you, you go into a brand new dealership and you're doing that lots at the moment.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Maybe it's an underperforming site. What's one of the first things you look at? And let's just take a sales department to start with. A sales department is underperforming. What's one of the first things you will look at to see why it's underperforming?
One of the things I like to do whenever especially when in that very, very early stage of meeting a dealership team for the first time, it's great to arrive at the site, get a first impression from whoever you bump into first. That could be anybody. I remember walking into a Volkswagen dealership once, and I walked into the divisional finance director,
Mhm.
and I had no idea who that lady was, and she greeted me very professionally, as if she were as a salesperson, showroom host, whichever. And I thought that really stuck with me, that memory.
Mm.
So I like to observe the first impressions in terms of the welcome into the site from whoever it's from. Um, then the handover to a member of the leadership team. What's sort of what's the reception like from them? Get an understanding from them of tell me what's great about your department or dealership. And you'll get the smile and you'll get the passion and you'll hear all the stories about what they're really proud of, and
Mm.
we're a proud industry. You get loads of that. It's great. It's lovely hearing some of the positive stories.
Mm.
Um, and then, as we get a little bit deeper and the friendship starts to form, the relationship starts to form with the leadership team, it's like, well, what do you think the main challenges are? What things would you overcome? What things do you think we should try and overcome first together? And it's really important, just to let that leadership team see and understand that I'm on site to add value, nothing else. And I'm seeking to understand their problems rather than give them
Yep.
new
Well,
problems.
can I dig a bit deeper here then? Okay.
Mhm.
What do a struggling dealerships usually blame? And what's the actual real reason for the issue? Okay. Again, if we take that sales department, okay, what do they normally blame? And what's the real issue? Is it the same thing that they blame, or is it something else often?
So many things. So you can have in some bigger dealer groups, you can have, it's head office's fault. They don't
Mm.
give us this and they
I
don't
hear
give us
that
that
lots. Yep.
all the time. And the reality of it is usually far from that. And you get a little bit deeper and you start to see maybe there's a misalignment between the management team that
Mm.
they don't see, or actually there's a sales team that might be undermotivated or badly managed, and they become militant, and all of a sudden there's this fracture that you can see from a mile across the room, and the leadership team, the management team, sales team are all working with each other all day, every day, and a lot of the time they don't see it. So as you start to ask the questions and dig a little bit deeper, that sort of mid-afternoon debrief that you can have with the general manager is usually quite revealing. Where you sort of share some of your experiences and ask the general manager, Bob, what do you think the dealership's challenges are? And as the day progresses and you start to share some of your observations, and hadn't picked up on that. Yeah, I've picked up on that so many times. Brilliant, but what have you done about it so far? And start doing a little bit of gentle probing about, look, you're aware there is an issue there, but what have you done about it so far? And okay, great. What was the outcome of doing that? Not much, right? Okay, what else have you tried? Good old fashioned deep dive, the 5 whys, deeper and deeper, and all of a sudden, you get some real meat on the bones actions to put together as a team. The following morning, if it's a 2-day visit, join the sales meeting, share some positives, some of the great things that you've seen, catching people doing things right, celebrating success.
Yeah.
And quite often, we're talking about a broken dealership or an underperforming department, maybe, for someone to come in and start saying, actually, Simon, I just thought I'd share with you, I saw you with Mrs. Griffin yesterday, and I thought it was great how you handled that objection. You get the team saying to you afterwards, it's rare that we get praise, it's rare that we get recognition for things like that. And it's all right, okay, but it was true and it was sincere and
it's so true. I get so many managers in all walks of life just turn around, that's wrong, and this is wrong, and that's wrong, and they just point out everything that's wrong. And by the way, they're probably right on the things that are wrong.
Usually, yes.
But people live up to the reputation they're given, good and bad. And if you keep on telling them everything that's wrong, they'll know exactly everything that they're doing wrong all the time there. Okay?
Absolutely.
And it's flipped that around as well. Catch people doing things right. I love it how you said that, because actually that's where that grows, doesn't it? It gives them that feeling that we're not a bunch of failures here. It's changed that culture often, isn't it?
It really is. And, thinking back to sort of the stuff we talked about earlier about mindset, it's once you start catching people doing things right and giving genuine recognition for it, when you start to talk about the things maybe later that aren't perhaps going so well, it comes from a better angle of credibility. Yeah. Simon, I noticed earlier when you had Mrs. Griffin, she gave you this objection. I listened intently to your response. What do you think you could have done differently or better? And usually there's a very good answer that comes back. If the answer is, I don't know, well, let's just peel it back a couple of layers. Let's talk about the conversation. What were you trying to achieve at the time?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I wanted to get to a deal, or I wanted to convert the customer from a bank loan onto car finance, or I wanted to present some value-added options, and customer didn't want to know.
Yeah.
Great. What did the customer want to achieve at that point?
Yeah.
And you see the cogs turning, and you see the recognition of, I perhaps wasn't thinking about what the customer wanted to achieve. And all of a sudden you unlock this little hidden roadblock that they'd missed. It's like, how many other times do you think you might have done it? Loads. Great. I've done it so many times myself as well. Loads of times. It's easily done. What would you do differently if it was the same thing tomorrow? And all of a sudden what they've expected to be a difficult, potentially chewy conversation about underperformance, all of a sudden it's became valuable, fun. If they can go to their manager or general manager and say, actually, I didn't realize I was doing this, and they're talking about it passionately, all of a sudden you've created excitement and a good feeling. Yeah. And you've unlocked this bad feeling of this underperforming department or dealership, and all of a sudden you've got passion and enthusiasm back.
Yep.
All of a sudden it grows.
Well, you've spent years finding value left on the table. And I think that's something that when we sat down, you mentioned, or maybe it's on your LinkedIn profile or somewhere there, but I love that phrase, finding value left on the table. So can I ask about in F&I, okay, where are we still leaking profit in a modern dealership? Where is the value left on the table?
Everywhere. I know that's a blunt answer, but it literally is everywhere, because there is F&I opportunity in every business, in every deal, at every point of the customer journey. And when you start to discover what's possible in a brand or a division or even a dealership, and you start to show the leadership team, where they've got some underperformers, how much money's being left behind. It's like, oh yeah, it's bad that, yeah, we've missed a few £1,000s there over last month or last quarter. And you start to then look at it over a 12-month period, and you start to look at it not just at site level, but at divisional level, and that division over a full 12 months, you can start to be looking at telephone numbers of money left behind. And actually, when you start to strip it back to where it maybe was left on the table, it's usually a shortcut of a process, or a process that's never been fully embedded and followed.
Well, I was going to ask you, so money has been left on the table. We know that. Is
Absolutely.
it process? Is it confidence in that product, a value-added product?
Mhm.
Is it leadership, inspecting what they expect? Or is it all of those? Get into the nitty-gritty there. You've walked into a dealership that's leaving money on the table. I love that you start with that to find out how much money's been left on the table.
Yeah.
From your experience, what is the biggest issue? Is it process? Is it confidence in the products? Is it, I say that because people think, we can't change the APR now and we're so expensive compared to other people, when reality they're not. Or is it leadership? What is it in your view?
It's always something different, and you've touched on the three key points already, Simon. One of the things I always like to go through, especially with a new team or a new dealership or a new leadership team I'm working with, is when we're looking at the performance and we identify, look, there's £15,000 there that we've missed in the last quarter that we can easily catch back. But what do you think it is? And I take it back to one of three things. There's either a knowledge issue, touching back to your point a moment ago, or there's a confidence issue, or there's a motivational issue. And so many times I've spent time with, let's just say, a salesperson that's not selling any value-added products. And I started to do a little bit digging. Tell me about that product. What can you tell me about it? There's either non-existent or woeful product knowledge.
Yeah.
Therefore, we just need to go through what the product is, how it works, what the features and the benefits, the exclusions, how much it costs, how long it lasts, all the basics, and get a proficient level of knowledge around the product there, and then get some confidence built around it. Or you actually do the deep dive with that person and discover there's a fabulous level of knowledge there, but when they go out to a customer, for whatever reason, they haven't presented it to the customer. And it might be they're that desperate to get a deal done, they cut the product or the F&I section out for now, just to get a deposit, secure a reservation, with the mindset of we'll get it later, and then they don't. And that's usually where a lot of the leakage occurs.
Yeah.
And therefore, that's just a confidence issue in terms of when we present that deal to the customer, make sure that all the options and choices are on the table and have a meaningful conversation about them all. If you've got a salesperson that's really knowledgeable, very, very confident, but then just doesn't present the products or isn't getting a result from the products because they're not objection handling, you tend to find it's a motivational issue. I remember doing a deep dive with a Volkswagen sales team a good number of years ago, and this particular team, they just weren't selling any paint and fabric protection, like none. And we did the usual stuff, tested the knowledge, right, presented to me then. All right, does your business manager or sales manager second face and overcome objections with you as a team? And all of a sudden, you do a bit of digging, and they're under the impression they don't get paid unless there's a threshold price point achieved. And it's like, let me just check that for you. And you look into it with the divisional accountant, and you come back and go, no, you should be getting paid for those. It's something
Wow.
so
One
simple
thing like that. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you flush the log jam out, and we've got performance again.
Well, there's something myths about it. It's like paint and fabric. If you talk about that, they say, yeah, but you haven't seen our valitors. They don't fit it properly. Okay, they're useless. And you hear this all the time. And I love just to say, well, you realize if the valitor hasn't fitted at all, and if it's Guard X or Life Shine or Super Guard, it doesn't really matter. They haven't fitted at all. Okay, the customer gets to stay in the back seat. you know, Lifeshine, Superguard, GuardX will come and fix it. They will repaint the bonnet if they need to. They'll put a new seat cover in if need to. They'll put a new carpet.
Yeah.
And they go, no, 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 they won't. They say, of course they do,
Yeah.
because the customers bought the product. And now
Yeah.
they're not stupid. They'll probably come and grab your valeter now and say, hey, come here, you little shit. Why didn't you fit it? Okay. But
Hmm.
your customer is, and the amount of times I get that in a dealership, it's almost the myth about the
Yeah.
product. So,
Yeah.
based on that, what's the biggest myths that you think sales managers, business managers, salespeople have about F&I products?
The
Any
biggest
other
myth
myths?
is definitely the one surrounding APR and funding
Oh,
options.
so true.
It's so prevalent, and the amount of times when you go into a dealership that's underperforming and selling funding options, and you get the objection from the leadership team about APR,
Uh-huh.
and you start to dig a little bit deeper about what their understanding of an APR is and what a representative APR is, and how marketing of it all works. And you could give me some examples, and they pull out their Instagram app and they go, look, here's an online provider. They're doing 8.9, and look how easy
From.
to apply on, and it's
Yeah,
from.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you start saying, right, okay, let's look at it a bit closer. You'll see the representative is further down the page on that Instagram page, isn't it? Yeah, it is. What's their representative? Well, it's 14.9. Great. What's our representative here then? What's 12.9? So like for like, you're actually better, but their from is what's
Yeah,
catching your attention. And
yeah.
that's exactly how the high street banks are selling their funding options. They go market leading with
Mm.
from. In actual fact, when you start digging into it a little bit deeper, most customers will get a rate that's higher than what we offer
Now,
when they
listen,
went through the credit scoring process.
this podcast still goes out to people in America, Canada, South Africa, Australia, and
Mhm.
we're based in the UK. So for people listening to
Mhm.
this in other countries, the UK doesn't have now, in America, you call it rate for risk, where every different customer, basically we get whatever interest rate we could charge. In the UK for, has it been last 2 years now, Neil? Something like that.
Yeah,
It's been
at
like
least.
that. We have to go into our rate for all our used cars. We treat customers fairly. If we're offering it to one customer at 12.9% APR, we offer it to everyone at 12.9. But of course, the banks, the high street, they don't. They still have a variable rate, and it's a from APR. So that's just for people listening to this in America thinking, well, hold on, what are you talking about on that? It's just that standard rate there that we have there. But
Absolutely.
it isn't so true that you'll get management teams say, oh, yeah, but customers are getting it 8.9% at AA Car Finance, at Tesco's. And I
Mhm.
love how you say, show me the example, give it to me,
Yeah,
not anecdotal, show me.
yeah. Show me
Uh,
what you've got. Show me what you're coming up against. And then, when you get the example of, look, we had a guy in at the weekend and he said he could get 8.9 from whoever, whatever it was. And he's went and applied and he's got it. Fantastic.
Has he got it
Yeah.
though? Has he
Well,
got it though?
yeah, exactly. Well, that is the first bit. But let's just suppose that customer did get that headline rate. Some of them do,
Yeah.
right? Did we have a meaningful conversation with that customer about our funding options, how they work, what the benefits are to the customer? Did we explain the end options of the PCP clearly, what the benefits of each of those are? Because if we haven't explained all of those things,
Mm.
then we've left money on the table, because I can tell you now, our guaranteed future value is almost certainly going to be better than, if anything, that they're getting from their external lender. So there's
Mm.
so much, myth busting still to be done in that area, and there's a lot of opportunity missed.
But things like tri-party agreements is a
Mhm.
real benefit for customers. Halves and thirds is a real benefit for customers. Not tying up
Absolutely.
your first line of funding, okay, is a real benefit for customers. And so often that people just go, they've got an 8.9, and not
Mhm.
realizing the customer may not have had it because they've got to apply for the loan before they work out what rate they're going to give them. But also,
Mhm.
it's we've got to make sure we're not comparing like for like. There's so many other things we're doing there.
So
So
many.
this sounds like an F&I training course now, doesn't it?
It's
Okay.
become a little bit one. One of my
It has.
favorites with it was always, if I was going to go and second face a customer, let's imagine it was yourself, Simon. You've told the salesperson you're paying cash. We've done a little bit of digging. It turns out there is an external funder involved. I'd come across, meet you again, because I should have met you long before a test drive. come over and say hello again, sit down, have a cup of coffee with you and just say, look, I'd like to just go through our options with you. If it turns out that you want to go with your own external funding options, that's absolutely fine. We can facilitate that for you and give you our banking information. I just want to make sure you've got all the choices before you leave. And main objective today is to get a deal done on the car for you, isn't it? Yes, it is, right. Let that customer leave with the funding option quote or options. When the customer then goes home, applies online, if they get a higher rate, a lot of them do, all of a sudden, actually, Neil's funding options, all of a sudden, it does look quite attractive, actually, when you consider what he said about the end options of the PCP and what the benefits of those are, etc., etc. It's just about having that meaningful conversation causes so many wins.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, again, I'm going to talk about the people listening to this in America as well. A tip I stole from the National Automotive Dealers Association. Doesn't work in Europe as much, but this will work well if you're listening to this in the States. The myth that you don't understand, Billy is cash. I've always sold him his cars. He's always a cash customer. He's cash, he's cash. This guy said, hey, just do yourself a favor, get all of your cash customers 3 months down the track, do a title search on the car, the equivalent to a HPI, and see how many of those customers who said they're cash, there's now finance outstanding on the car. And it's just one of those things to prove it. Now, again, in our world, most of the time it's a personal loan, so it won't show up on the car anyway. But in the American market, they will still, the security will still be on the car if they go independently to do it. And I thought, what a lovely little technique that was, just to prove to our salespeople that customers don't really have that. What's the average value of a car in the UK now? Is it going to be 40, 50,000?
Got to be getting around 40, I would say, at least, yeah.
I was with Steve Rayner from the Joe Duffy group, and they had probably about, I don't know, 16, 17 people in the room. And he asked a question which it hit me right between the eyes. Okay. He said, what's the average value of the cars that we sell in the Joe Duffy group? And they worked out through consensus, it was going to be something like 64,000 euros. He just turned around and said, okay, who here has got 64,000 euros sitting in their bank account right now to go and spend on a car? Okay. But then one stage further, he said, who here has ever spent 64,000 buying a car themselves? Okay. And there was one or two in the room there. He said, you get through. Okay. You haven't got that money. The people we're dealing with have they actually got that money there. Okay. And they're spending more money on the car than what you have. Okay. We got to treat them the right way. I just love how he asked those two questions. And it just, with the myths on F&I, I just love that approach there.
Yeah.
Loved it.
A really effective way that I was found when, you've got a customer or a salesperson saying to a manager, oh, Simon, this Mr. Ferguson, my appointment, he's here. He's paying cash. All right, okay, no problem. You go across, make your introductions. Hello, I'm Neil. I'm the business manager. I'm the sales manager, whatever role. And I understand that you want to pay cash, and that might be the best thing for you to do. In all fairness, Simon, I'll go get a cash deal put together for you. It'll take us about 5 minutes to get everything finalised. Guess the most important thing for us to do is get the deal right and get the car in your driveway. And you get a yes response. Right, I'll go get that put together now. It'll take us about 5 minutes. Just out of curiosity, though, if you don't mind me asking, Simon, was it that you were planning on using your own funds from savings, perhaps, or were you maybe looking to use an external lender? I've seen some great rates out there. And at that point, the point that you made a moment ago, how many customers out there are actually funding a vehicle?
Yeah.
17 out of 20 used car customers are funding a vehicle somewhere, somehow.
Yep.
And when you put it across that way, I've seen some great rates out there. Yeah, actually, I'm getting a rate of whatever rate from whoever, whatever bank. All right, okay. And how long was that over? And how much are you looking to borrow? All right, okay. And what sort of monthly did that calculate out? Okay, all right, fine. Look, let me go get the cash deal put together for you. But while I'm on, I'll just show you how our tailored funding options compare with that, just to make sure you're making an informed choice for what you're getting elsewhere. That sounds fair, doesn't it? And you roll the PCP payment out, you roll our HP payment out, you compare it to the customer's banking information quotations, and all of a sudden they're going, how does that work, Win? Right, let me explain in a bit more detail. And you're into the benefits of vehicle funding versus this customer was cash 5 minutes ago, and we've only got 2 negotiation levers.
Love it. And listen, also, we've got to talk about compliance now. Okay. And we want to talk about how we balance like F&I performance on a profit basis and the commercial side of that, and with compliance, treating customers fairly and the trust. Is one killing the other? Now, I don't think that at all, but I want to get your views on how is compliance, playing devil's advocate there, is one killing the other, but how's compliance, what impact is it having on our commercial performance?
I think being regulated is a fabulous asset to our industry. And everybody's, understandably cautious and delicate-footed around regulatory things. What everybody's got to remember is when we sit down with a customer and just say, Simon, just before I go through some funding options with you, I need to let you know that we are whoever motor group, and we've chosen to be authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. We're actually carrying credibility into that conversation by doing that professional disclosure. And when we then discuss options with the customer that we've disclosed we're regulated and qualified to do, we're building value into that. And when you think about a customer journey, people think about what BMW Group taught Neil Carrahar to be a salesperson 20 years ago in 2005 in Reading. Yeah, customer journey is vitally important. Customer experience is, as is being compliant with the regulator. And that's why it's vitally important for all dealer groups, regardless of size or scale, to make sure that their compliance journey and customer journey are two perfectly aligned things. What you then end up with, when you've got a journey that's been carefully thought out, well trained and delivered, and then executed by the leadership team, you've by default got a compliant sales customer process experience and a measurable customer experience all woven into one. So really, when it's done well, and it's been trained well, and it's being managed well, compliance just means better performance, better credibility. It's fabulous for our industry to be regulated. It's all about mindset.
Yeah. So listen, I'm just listening to that, and it's almost challenging leaders. It's challenging senior leaders sometimes. And listen, I know you well enough now, Neil, in 6 weeks. You will challenge leaders. But I want to ask the question, how do you challenge without creating that resistance? How do you do that? Because it's natural, isn't it, for people to put the barriers up when you're telling them that something needs improvement?
I think it's vitally important. Earlier on when we talked about your first arrival at a new dealership or meeting the management team, leadership team for the first time, it's all about at that point, that very, very first visit, that first time you meet a team that you're going to work with, do development work with, that they understand from the very beginning, I'm not coming on site to be combative or unpleasant or difficult. I'm coming on site to add value, nothing else. I will seek to find out what's wrong with the business, not to be combative or difficult, but to help work with and create alignment on the issues. And as long as the team that you're working with understands that you're not there to be difficult, you're not there to catch anybody out. If anything, you're there to catch them doing things right and then build on the challenges that you're going to share with them. All of a sudden, you've got a completely different mindset from the team you're working with. If I was to visit a dealership, do some development work, a month later, I pull up outside in the car park, they see my number plate in the car park. I'd love to think, oh, hey, great, Neil's here. Right, he's gonna give us some more help. And that's really what it's all about. Finding issues together, fixing issues together, quite often sharing success, celebrating success, and then building on the things that need fixed as a team.
Listen, this has been really good so far, but listen, let's pause there now and let's pick this up next time just to continue to get to know you, because I'm just really enjoying this conversation. I just don't want to cut it short. That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, symcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bokert through LinkedIn. Thank you.